Hey, what is up, guys? It's Guiltspire here, and welcome back to Champions of the Fog. How y'all doing today on this marvelous Saturday afternoon? Hopefully all are doing well. Today we have round 6, Legacy versus Torment. And today, I am joined by Vile Vega. How you doing today, Vile Vega?
Good, how are you?
Pretty well. Cannot complain. So, very happy to have you on today. Are you excited to be commentating some COTF?
Yep, definitely. Haven't co-commentated with you before, I think?
No, don't believe so. So, this will be the first time. I'm sure I'll go fine, though.
Yep. What could go wrong?
I mean, theoretically speaking, a lot, but let's not press Lady Luck, shall we?
Probably not that great of an idea.
Well, that being said, we do have everyone in lobby as we speak. We are just waiting on confirmation on builds. I do believe killer side should be good, and survivor side should be soon after. Let's just confirm real quick, and take a look at Legacy. Last time we checked, everything was good. So I think we should be good to give the go-ahead, if I'm not mistaken.
What are you looking forward to in this, I guess, competition between these two teams?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what Torment brings to the table. I was very excited to see how they played against Cerebral Assassins in their first match. And I believe this is the first match that we're going to actually see of Legacy, so very excited for that as well. With that being said, I do want to put out something forthright as we are loaded into this match here. This is technically going to be acting as an exhibition match. Mainly due to the fact that Legacy actually had some roster issues. Due to that roster issue, they had to make some last-minute adjustments. And due to that fact, we are giving the win over to Torment by default. So this will be counted as a exhibition match for all intent and purpose. So no matter what the point totals are, Torment will be the winner at the end of all this. With that being said, still very excited to see what these teams do bring to the table. I do imagine since it is an exhibition match, no holds bar, they're going to be bringing out the big guns, to say the least.
What killer do you think we're going to be seeing here, then?
I mean, if it's no holds bars, use what you want with no repercussions, I'm imagining Nurse and Spirit, let's be real. Nurse, Spirit, maybe some Blight.
Personally, I'd love to see some Trickster. Like, since this is an exhibition match, like you're saying, I already know that I have this win locked in for myself. Why not use some killers that are ranked lower, see what I can do, have some fun, maybe learn a few things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully would respect that as well, and it wouldn't be a bad idea. Would love to see it. I mean, Trickster does feel very, very good nowadays, so be 110% for that. But we are on the Suffocation Pit, and I think this is at least the second time that we have seen Nurse on Suffocation Pit, which is quite exciting and a little bit unprecedented. We saw Nurse with Sample Text versus Cerebral Assassins, with Cerebral Assassins on Nurse on this map. To me, I don't know what it is. This map does not feel like a Nurse map. With the amount of jungle gyms in that middle area, it just feels so bad. Going into this middle area and trying to blink around this jungle gym. I mean, personally for me, that's why my team and I decided to bring in Pyramid Head instead, which ended up working pretty well. No spoilers, but maybe you guys want to check out my video coming up for that. It's going to be Basement Pyramid Head. Was unprecedented, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't know. With Nurse, when you have these tall wall loofs, you can really easily get tricked up, especially when they're this close to each other, because you don't know if when a survivor goes into one loop, if they're just going to continue through to another loop.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big part of the issue is, the major way of winning against the Nurse is breaking line of sight. That way she either needs to take one of two choices. She either is going to break line of sight or try and keep line of sight, rather, by, doing a prediction blink or hitting the corner. And based on that decision, she's either going to gain a ton of distance or lose a ton of distance. I think another major thing that this nurse is going to have to consider is, do I want to keep to one side of the map? Which, that was really my game plan on Suffocation Pit, was I'm going to find the best side to sit on, and I'm going to sit on it. And this is going to be my hill that I will die on.
Looks like we have about 10 seconds left on our Corrupt here. No gens pop yet, so I'm assuming that they were doing what a lot of teams have been doing recently, and just waiting out that Corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart move. It gives you time to do totems, but it also gives you time to hit a haunted ground, as we do see that insta-down there.
I didn't even hear it proc.
Yep,
Well,
yeah.
I guess...
Yeah, it's right over there, over towards Shaq, and they popped it pretty early. But they did get one activation, and they did pop another totem. Let's see what it is. And, I will mention, there was some Undying in play, so these survivors might be in a little bit of a pickle. And you see Nancy, once again, going down.
Wow.
I mean,
Well,
that is the gamble that you play with Haunted Ground, Undying, you know, combo, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, right now, as soon as Haunted Grounds is gone, this is going to be a perkless nurse.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at this point, we saw Ruin go out. We saw Haunted Ground go out. We've seen Undying go out. Corrupted Invention's over. Obviously, she is going to be camping this hook for a second stage, which does make sense in this situation. I mean, I think overall, Nurse has a really, really strong start here.
Definitely. 3 hooks, 1 gen. Great trade-off.
Yep, absolutely, and that they also now get to make a decision when they do see that unhook. Do I go for Claudette and try and get her out of the match? And she thought about it for a second. Personally, I would have gone for Nancy, since she was right there and she was on the hook first, so her DS would be shorter if, in instance, they do have DS in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I also am going in with the thought, Nancy's the obsession, she's the most likely to have the decisive.
Yeah, it's possible, but there's also the possibility of survivors bringing Medal of Man, for example. I've actually been really surprised not to see survivor squads practicing utilizing Medal of Man more often.
If you can get people who know how to use the perk correctly, Medal of Man's probably at least an A tier perk, in my opinion.
I mean, I've seen it used to perfection. I have played against teams who go in for body blocks consistently and will get so much value out of Metal because they'll take the body block, they'll go and heal, they'll take the body block, go and heal. It allows them to extend chase again and again and again, even after tiles are dead. I mean, there was one match
You become a human pallet at that point.
Well, exactly, and that's exactly what happened where I played against Septus, for example, and I was on Cold Tower Freddy, and literally, I broke every single pallet on that map. And so instead of using pallets, they used human shields. It worked out quite effectively.
Who needs pallets? You have your other teammates.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you know the art of body blocking, it can be quite powerful. The unfortunate part is, of course, Nurse is a very hard killer to body block for obvious reason. You can try and body block using your hitbox, but it just is such a difficult thing to do because you practically need to be on top of the survivor as a survivor to be able to body block the Nurse.
Even then, I feel like you'd need at least 2, one in the front, one in the back. Because if they are able to blink in front, you might not have enough time to flip around with that survivor.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. You just pretty much hold W, you keep on going, and just hope for the best. And we do see another quick down for the Nurse here, and we do see that unhook in progress. But looks like they must have backed off a basement as Scratch Marks did stop partway through. And there is Nancy.
Definitely a slug out. It's probably the best option here because you have 1 dead, 1 on hook, 1 already slugged. One that's unbreakable. Well, I would say the one that's slugged most likely can't do anything, but look, there goes Nia.
Yeah, you never want to assume that the survivors are down and out until you've seen whether or not they have Unbreakable or otherwise. And 'tis the case here where Nia had Unbreakable and is now somewhere out in the map. She looks to be playing a little bit immersed here, which I think is the right move if you give too many scratch marks, too much blood for this to track, what have you, you're going to be in trouble. So the best thing to do is to wait until Nurse goes for the pickup back here and have them then go for the unhook. But unfortunately, they were a little bit too much in the open. And so we see Nurse going for that block of basement, ensuring that they're not able to get much value. Very good. I was about to say, very good use of the firecracker, because not only did that blind the Nurse, it actually stopped her from using her second blink.
That's an actual feature now?
That's been a feature for a long, long time. So if you were to shine a flashlight on the Nurse's body like you would a Wraith, you'll light burn her. And when you light burn her, you stop her from using her second blink. Or even first one, theoretically speaking, just stops her from blinking, period.
I heard that you needed to burn that. Huh. It makes sense. It's just...
Yep.
In theory, it makes sense. The rest of the way, not so much. Anyways, looks like this is the end of the line here for Legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that will be the end. That will be a 4K with only 3 gens completed. So very, very early lead by Torment here, and a very good showing. Obviously, you know, making sure that their survivors on hook end up on second hook, telling the person out early, reducing resources. And once you end up into that 1v3 scenario, only one person being out, it really does change the entirety of the game, because if you down one person, put on the hook, and you find another person before that person is unhooked, that means that at all points in time, 3 people will be off of the generators, and it's pretty much game over at that point.
Yeah. Something else, though, is with these hooks, though, you're getting how many progressions?
I mean, yeah, they're going to get a lot of progressions, but at the end of the day...
But as long as you're able to stop those gens, progressions...
Correct. Well, and that's the biggest thing. It's not just about how many points can you get, but how many points you can ensure that your opponents do not get. And this here is a good example of that, where, you know, Torment's going to be able to ensure that Legacy has as few points as possible going into the next round.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you know, it was actually really lucky of the Nurse to get, I believe that was Claudette, out as early as they did, because we do notice a couple things here. They had BT, DS, Deliverance, and Sprint Burst. So that's a lot of unhooking value out very early. And so it was just by probably complete and utter chance, but it did definitely work out in their favor.
I mean, yeah. So I'd assume when you have this person that most likely does have the decisive, you're gonna, like, sort of keep that in mind, because, again, a popular combo has been that Deliverance decisive with the BT, so that way you can get your Deliverance, then some sort of exhaustion perk.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, there's a couple ways to play around. That's a funny part, too. You can play it one of 2 ways. You can either A, play it around in a sense that the person with Deliverance will always have decisive, but I've seen a lot of teams actually mind game that instead, to where they actually will not put it on Deliverance, because then the killer has to make a choice. Do I slug the Deliverance player and not risk the DS, or do I pick it up and risk the DS? And so it's a little bit of a mind game within a mind game, and I've seen it work out both ways. Yeah.
Especially if you're able to run something like Unbreakable.
Yeah, exactly.
Then, no matter what, they have to either choose A, pick you up, or B, slug you and get you Unbreakable.
Yep. Nope.
And if you were to pair something like Soul Guard with that, they're getting away either way.
Yep. Yeah, no, that is exactly the case, without a doubt. And so, you know, that is a bit of a gamble that you make. And obviously, if only one DS in play, you have to really pick and choose your battles. But a lot of times I have found that people, as of recent, have just made the choice of, well, I have a 1 out of 4 chance of hitting it. Let's play, you know, let's gamble a little bit, and they just go for the pickup. And usually it tends to work out in their favor, for sure.
Unfortunately, earlier, we saw quite the opposite. Right at the exit gate, was just unhooked, was the one to have decisive. It did not work out well in Killer's favor,
I
unfortunately.
mean, that's not a gamble anymore. That's just simply a, well, I have to pick you up eventually. You're going to either escape or you're going to escape. It is what it is.
It was either, hey, I'm going to lose the survivor anyway. What can I do to either A, slow them down, or B, get them to that hook, more or less, I guess you could say.
Exactly.
Which I feel like is where Pyramid Head has that advantage. Because you don't even have to worry about picking up a survivor. You can just cage them if they've stepped in your Torment, I think it's called.
Are you talking about Pyramid Head?
Yeah.
Yeah, your Trail of Torment.
Yep. Alright.
Or technically it's not called Trail of Torment. It is called something else entirely, but same idea. Trail of Torment is the perk, but that's what I call it.
It couldn't be anything else. Let's see here.
But
So-
that... Oh, continue.
I am going to assume that they're going the way you were saying. They are going to continue with this, just full go. We aren't even going to mess around. Let's use these killers that we know how to use, show show the world what we're made of, more or less, and have us, I guess, more or less have a standard for them in mind.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, that is pretty much going to be the case, more likely than not. I truly do believe that is what we're going to see. So, I expect, like I said, Nurse and Spirit on both sides, more likely than not.
I hate Spirit so much. I used to be a rank 1 Spirit main, but just got so bored of it.
No, that's understandable. That's understandable. I mean, realistically speaking, when it comes to competitive, if you don't have a team member who plays Spirit, you need to find a team member who plays Spirit, because if you can get a good one on you and you can really hone their skills, then they are a force to be reckoned with, especially with finals coming up, where, once again, we're probably going to see nothing but Spirit and Nurse. That will probably play out the same way.
Spirit has the best power overall in any of the game.
Disagree with that.
Go ahead.
Spirit is second to Nurse no matter what.
Yeah, that's true.
The fact of the matter is that Nurse breaks the mechanics of the game. She does not have to respect tiles. She's anti-loop. She's mobility. She is, practically an insta-down killer at times with how quickly she can get those downs. So, though Spirit very strong, still has to play by the rules of she can't go through tiles freely. She has to go around them. So there's still a way to play around her. It's just not as easy as someone that you can see right in front of you, of course.
Yeah.
You're playing around a ghost.
Against all odds is what you have to be. When I used to play in a tournament, actually, we were versing a Spirit. I did not have Iron Will. And so I was mid-loop with her. She came out of phase right as I passed by her, and I just ran for the high hills. It was like, okay, now I actually have a realism of, this is what I'm dealing with. I need to adapt. And so you really have to play very careful if you want to try and go for that win.
Nah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Sorry to interrupt, but they are both teams are good to go.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We get a quick score check.
Yes, we can. 50 to Torment and 9 to Legacy as it stands.
Thank you. Thank you.
He had quite a few progressions in that game.
Yeah. We figured as much based on that, but like the sheer amount of points that they are able to rob Legacy of, it makes sense. It pays for itself in the long run. Well, with that being said, we're going to be jumping on to this next match, and I have a sneaking suspicion, like I said, we'll probably see Nurse, we'll see Spirit, since it's a no-holds-bar match. That will probably be the case. So, I still believe that if you're looking between Suffocation Pit and Blood Lodge, that Blood Lodge would be the Nurse map to choose, but maybe these teams have other thoughts entirely, and obviously still went well for Torment. But it's still surprising to see it. What are your thoughts? What killer do you expect to see here?
I'm thinking Pyramid Head. I don't know why. I'm just having that like good hope of various.
Well,
they have some other nurse.
looks like you
But
are
a very
incorrect. It
similar build.
is once again a nurse. I feel like I'm getting flashbacks for all of those who were with me over in Vigo's court. Every match is but a nurse. And we do see that Firecracker play once again, and that stunned Nurse out of her blink and did get that blind as well. So really good stuff, and pushed some really early pressure on Zac, but also Zac in a pretty long chase here. Might have to be careful as he's leaving his active gens for this Corrupt Intervention area.
That's the thing, though, is how are these survivors going to play around that Corrupt? Last time they waited it out, clearly did not work, so are they going in with the fact of, hey, if we pressure these gens, that is putting more pressure on the killer since he is currently in chase across the map where the Corrupt is up.
Well, that's exactly it. At the end of the day, you want to wait out Corrupt, but if you don't, and someone gets in chase that early, you want to be on gens at that point. And that's the give and take, you know. Do you threaten gens early and try and get some early game progress? Do you know, hide out and try and rob them of Corrupt, really put the pressure on them? And we can see here where by moving into that Corrupt zone, they already broke the 3-gen on main side, which is definitely going to be very difficult for the Nurse to play around once Corrupt Dimension is over.
It looks like this time, though, the map spawned pretty balanced.
Arguably, I would say so. There is still that middle area, which is going to be that determining factor in the long run.
I always save middle gen for if I need to break a 3-gen. So do one on where the 3-gen is. If it's a 4-gen, do another there. Save the middle. If I have gen separation across the map, then I pop the center.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision, relatively speaking, on what you want to prioritize. Honestly, I think as long as you break, 3-gen on one side, 3-gen on the other, then you can probably leave middle for quite some time, but you just also don't want to leave it for too long, because that can still give the killer a pseudo 3-gen, though it's a bit more uncomfortable because of how large that spread is. It still is not something that you want to be playing around as a survivor, realistically speaking.
With Nurse, she just bypasses that like barrier there, more or less.
Let's see, we did see another gen. Looks like that was on the opposite side. And I imagine if they're playing smart, they're going to very purposely leave that last gen on main building side and try and get a gen over here at this point. Because if they don't, and Nurse just pretty much keeps his 3-gen in place, the game could potentially get locked down.
Yeah, even then, if it does come down to that 3-gen, we can either see they try and rush the 3-gen and they get it broken, or they play the long and slow game. But that's very hard, especially when they're still grown up.
Well, that's the biggest thing here, because let's put it this way. Here's what I did, and here's what I think this Nurse will do. We see 1, 2, 3 gens. If I was Nurse right now, I'm protecting middle. I'm making sure that they're not going to get that 3-gen. I'm going to ignore the unhooks and just pressure gens, pressure gens, pressure gens. Because if I can succeed in doing that, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Eventually, I'm going to grind out enough value, especially if Nurse being able to, bridge the gap, that distance, as quickly as she does. As long as she's not going over to the main building now, I think these survivors are going to really struggle.
Yeah. So, I didn't see, did they actually pop that gen over by the main building?
They did, from the looks of things. So I think that was personally a mistake, because they now have more or less a 4-gen between middle and shack side. But I will say Nurse is getting a bit too overzealous, in my opinion, going for this chase here. And if they overcommit to this, they will lose part of their 3 and 4-gen. If I was them, in my mind, I put a very hard and fast line in the middle of the map, and if a survivor crosses that line, I do not chase. And Nurse, in my opinion, just giving them way too much free pressure.
Pretty much. If they're going 2 to 3 loops over from that last gen, just leave them. Yes, they might heal up, but you have Ruin in play. All the progress on that gen is gone.
Yep, but at this point in time, we see another gen pop off, and, you know, they still have a nice little cluster, but they're overcommitting to this chase at this point. And due to that, we're going to see probably another gen pop off momentarily.
If they were split up 2-3. I mean, 2-1. Ugh.
Yep, you'd see probably one person with Prove Thyself, one person without Prove Thyself. But looks like it doesn't matter in the long run, as we do see the last gen pop off. And though Nurse has gotten it down, there ain't gonna be much else for her to do.
At this point, I'd just be telling my team, hey, I know I went down. We can either just get the 3-man out, or attempt the 4-man. If it doesn't work out, just leave.
It's a Nurse. You don't want to tempt fate with Nurse, with her being able to bridge the gap. Not to mention that they're dead on hook as is. But with the fact that Nurse is able to make up so much distance, we were doing a scrim with ST earlier before a match on Blood Lodge. And I remember famous last words. Kieran tells me, oh, you'll make the exit gate. You're not injured. Nurse immediately hits me and does down me in the exit gate. We nearly had to do heal tech to ensure that we did not lose the third person. And so, famous last words for anyone playing against the Nurse is, oh, you'll be fine. This will be okay.
Oh. I've never seen Nurse gameplay like this, though. Like, I don't even know what half these techs are that they're doing.
And it's not really tech as much as what they're doing is they're changing their camera's POV as they blink. And the reason why you do this is to be able to get a better understanding of your surroundings. Of course, you know, it doesn't really do you too much if you don't have someone to look at that you're actually trying to down.
Okay. Because, like, I was seeing these, like, twists they was doing, and I'm like...
Yeah, they're just spinning the camera, that's all. Just some cheeky 360s.
So you start the blink, and then as soon as you start that blink, you're able to change your camera angle?
No, you don't start it. You need to be mid-blink, and you can change your camera angle wherever, but no matter what, you're always going to blink to where your destination is. So during that travel time, that distance, you can actually change your camera view, take a look around, see what gens they're on, what have you.
That's why I got my Adept Nurse in brown ranks.
But with that being said, once again, a pretty handed victory here by Torment. And with a 3-man out, it's going to be pretty rough for Legacy to try and come back, you know, on this third round.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a visible skill gap there.
Well, I don't think there isn't necessarily a skill gap, but I guess a competitive mindset is the best way to look at it. Is that if, for instance, Zach had dropped Chase at certain points and stayed within their 3 and 4 gen, then they would have been able to very confidently have, you know, applied more pressure evenly across the board.
Yeah, because as soon as that chase was starting to go over towards that main building area, I was like, okay, you need to break off. You're overcommitting to this one survivor. It's one survivor. All the other 3 are on the other side doing gens. If they don't have a med kit and they don't have self-care, they have no way of healing themselves. So they'll come back eventually.
Exactly. Because realistically speaking, from a killer's side, even if you injure someone and they go and they reset, your ruin's up. So during that entire time frame, you know, your ruin's still going to be regressing gens and regressing gens and regressing gens. And until you're able to be in such a position to where you can know, okay, all my gens are regressed. I know where everyone is. At most, there's going to be one person on a gen. That's 80 seconds. I have 40 seconds to go for this chase. If I can down them within those 40 seconds, then I'll get a hook. If I don't, then oh well. I go back to the gen, get that regressing, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Eventually, you'll get value.
Yeah, it's pretty much the easiest way to win this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No doubt about that. But it looks like our current score is Torment, 88 points with Legacy at 27. If Torment plays the same way they did, this will be the final nail in the coffin for Legacy, and in turn, their swan song going into round 4.
All I know is that the easiest killer that I was able to learn 3 gens on was Hag.
I mean, Hag is
a
great.
Learn how to set up 3 gens, and then all the other killers I'm now able to figure out, hey, how can I zone players to go to different areas around this 3 gen?
Yep, Yeah, Hag is always good. The biggest thing is obviously I find that Hag is only as good as the survivors that you're playing against is knowledge of Hag and how to play against her.
Yeah. He has smart players, especially in red ranks. I pick someone up. There goes the web.
Yep, no,
I have
absolutely.
traps back in my inventory.
Yeah, no, we see very often is that you're going to see, you know, trap hit, trap hit, trap hit. And the biggest thing is some Hags get a bit panicked here. And they don't do what, in my opinion, is the smartest thing and safest thing to do as a Hag, which is to recycle traps. Sometimes, even if you're teleporting late, it's still beneficial to teleport to reset your traps in the exact same spot. Because they either need to then commit to going back to the trap and setting off again, risking a hit at that point, or to simply leave it there and potentially hit it later down the road where you wanted to have them hit it in the first place.
I always think about, hey, if I'm the survivors, which route am I going to be taking? Okay, they went this route. They know that I'm most likely going to be watching out for that area since they've taken it once. So I use that mind game of, hey, let's take a different route around somewhere else. So I'll place a trap there. Most of the time it works. Then again, if you have a player that's staring at you, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. We haven't seen a lot of Hag this season, and honestly, I think one of the major reasons why is because some of her support pieces are still not currently available. I think, honestly, Eruption is a very nice perk on Hag. Ruin, I really do love. The Rune Pot combo is a staple of comp at this point. But fact of the matter is that, you know, if an instance Hag had Eruption instead, she could really do a lot of damage because you're just going to be teleporting to gens, you bop the gen, and eventually you get it down. All of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 gens get popped for upwards of 24+% off of the gens in total.
Actually, I'll look at the rules right now to see what add-ons are banned.
Add-ons banned for COTF. I'm pretty sure she's have her allowed with Rusty Shackles as well as range. I mean, Hag is rough to play, like I said, against survivors who know how to harass her web and know how to reset effectively.
Trickster Twins. Yeah, very rare purple add-ons and below.
Yep. So in that case, Rusty Shackles, double range are both allowed.
I honestly like the Mint Rag because you are able to teleport to traps that you could just use for reconnaissance, more or less. So, like, if you need to get across the map quickly to try and see if they're doing a gen, but you're all the way across the map and just in case, bam, you're there.
Yeah, at the same time, I think that more often than not, it's not very beneficial for the most part. More or less, survivors are going to have a pretty good inclination of what's going on, and will play very carefully. But we do see a Blight on this map. Speaking of, killers are able to get from one side of the map to the other pretty freaking quickly.
Alright, I've seen these add-ons a lot today. Are they just speed add-ons?
Yes, so as you rush more and more, your speed increases. I do believe that Blight's base rush speed is 279 or 237, but as you rush more and more, your speed just increases, and increases. So very, very strong add-ons.
Ooh.
And we do see that first down there quite early on into the Corrupt Intervention. Let's see if Torment here are going to be trying for anything cheeky. No flashlights, no firecrackers this time around. Looks like Blight will just get them into basement. And these add-ons, pretty good. Honestly, you know, obviously for Blight, one of the add-ons that is banned is Alchemist Ring. That is a little bit too powerful at this point in time. Personally, for me, I will say that how fast Blight can go is almost too fast for me. Right now, I'm playing him a lot without add-ons. And we do see a Tinker pop in that background, but nothing really coming from the Blight. It looks like Blight's going to let that gen go, which is a little bit surprising. Potentially just wanting to camp out this basement to try and get this person to second stage.
Okay, I really didn't know what Alchemist Ring was, and hitting Survivor with the Lethal Rush instantly recharges all rush tokens. I can see where that can be very overpowered.
Oh yeah, it's basically, you know, Bubba, how you can just, there's an add-on that gets you more and more charges? Yeah, think about that with Beastmark.
Okay, what is going on here, though?
So, what's happening is that
Nina,
the survivors are body blocking the grab, which is very, very smart.
I, was sort of just trying to draw attention back to the game more or less there. What? Are we waiting out BT still?
Yep, so waiting out BT. Honestly, they fully waited out, and now they're going to see if DS is in play.
It is.
Yep, and like I said,
that was a lot of time wasted both sides.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you'll get those obsession markers when you have DS in play. Sometimes you won't get the obsession markers, and we see Zach pays the price for that gamble, but now knows in full that DS is out of the game at this current point in time.
Yeah, it looks like he's pretty set up so far, but we did have a Tinker proc on that gen right there, so...
Yep, and less than like 4 seconds to get there. Honestly, the Nancy probably could have committed to the generator and finished it out in full.
Another Tinker proc.
And this is where
Nancy, I'm trying to rush back and get this gen done before he hooks.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like they're able to make it there in time. But this is how you play around the Blight of Tinker. You just, you know, make him choose what gen he wants to go for. You know, you have 1, 2, 3 Tinker procs going off, and the Blight has to go, all right, where do I go? Can I actually get anywhere? And even if I do I get value? Because only one person's injured right now, and that's Nancy, and, you know, she can't really do much at this point in time.
I am noticing, though, that you need a really high DPI to play Blight with those, hard hits, I guess you could say.
You don't necessarily need it, but it definitely does help you out on those turns to where, you know, if you're trying to get those really, really tight turns, like trying to rush around the car, for example, and slide off of it to get the hit, you know, a higher DPI is definitely going to be beneficial. Some of those that are Blight mains, of course, you know, will have more of opinion, all things considered. It looks like Blight trying to once again body block the unhook, but just resulting in paying too much attention to Ace and not enough attention to Nancy. And Blight blindly rushing. I'm interested in understanding why. I mean, at that point, just wait out the blind, take a listen, and follow the sounds of the injured survivor. But they straight up choose to rush instead.
If I was blinded and I just started rushing, I'd just be confused over that.
I mean, I can sometimes predict the movement of survivors too, but like that may have been a little bit too overzealous, let's say. And really going for temp here, but to no avail. You know, recognizing the clicky click from Nancy.
It looks like Rune was taken out as well.
Yep. Rune was taken out earlier. There was that noise notification on the other side. But it looks like Blight has lost his main target. And will go for Tinker instead. They do get a nice hit on Nancy, but they really are just stuck between a rock and a hard place because we're going to see these survivors kind of just harass this gen again and again and again. And he's going to have to make a choice here where we do probably see more Tinker procs come up, and I'd say in the next 30 seconds, if not less. So if he doesn't get this down, he'll be in a bit of trouble.
You got it anyways, though. And there goes our second Tinker proc.
Yep, so he gets the down, he gets the Tinker, now he has to make a choice. Do I pop the Tinker on Hill? Do I go for the one that just popped off? Or do I go for the one that just popped off as well in the distance? This is what, you know, Blight's going to struggle with this entire rest of the game of, do I lose 1 gen? Do I lose 3 gens? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It looked like that house gen, though, is the only one left on that side of the map.
Yep, and so it's very possible that they might 99 it. They do recognize that to be the case. And we do see, actually, only 2 on Shaq's side, 1 towards middle left, and then 1 at Blood Lodge. And just like that, we see Hill once again hit with Tinker, and Blight has to make a decision of whether or not to go for the unhook or to go for the gen. We see Bloodlodge pop. I'm sure we're going to see Hill pop here soon. We do see the trade. Will he go for the BT hit or not? Looks like he's waiting on BT. Blight then has to either need to hit or grab. Does neither, which may have been the right move. And will miss that bounce. We see that last gen pop off, and it is to the races now. And I think much like what we saw with the Nurse match, we are seeing once again just some overcommitment to certain chases, and because of that, you know, we're seeing gens fly off the handle left and right. We see the pickup who was on the ground from earlier, and maybe Zach just really doesn't like Nia here, as they're the same person that they told out last match too. Looks like Nancy was attempting to get a cheeky flashlight save, potentially.
If they're using the same build as last time, they have the Deliverance.
Yeah,
So
that's a
they were
good
able to
point.
get that save.
That is a fair point. Do we see a body block here from Ace? We do not, but we do see Nancy back up. And it is possible that Nia here will be out of the game if they're not careful.
Oh, they already went to second.
Yep, they're on second stage now, which doesn't mean too much here. They are very, very close to that exit gate, so once we see the unhook, we'll see BT in play. And all they need to do at this point in time is just, you know, run out and they're golden. There's nothing you can do. Looks
There it
like...
goes.
Not sure what Ace is doing there. Maybe going for Hatch? Oh, or maybe giving a hook to the Zach? Is that what we're doing here? Or going for a chase?
Maybe.
Maybe being a gracious winner. Or that, maybe it's just a chase. Looks like just having some fun at this point in time.
Remember when Blight was first released? Everyone was like crashing on how bad his ability was. And now there's just these god tier Blights.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the DBD community, let's be real. We saw Twins got the same treatment, and then people realized, oh, Twins is actually really good.
Yeah. It's just, all these new killers all have unique playstyles. Compared to what we were used to getting, it was a lot of things people could easily think of. Like, I personally would have never thought of, like, the idea for Blight.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, I can definitely understand that. I mean, even Twins, when I looked at them initially and realized, oh, they're basically just Hag, but slightly different. And it was very similar in that same sense, and I went, oh, okay. Well, this is easy enough. We can play this a very similar way. You kind of play them as a macro killer and don't play them short range. You want to play that long range game, just kind of injure, and eventually...
Especially with their add-ons.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually kind of just, you know, grind them out of the game. And that's Twins' playstyle in a nutshell.
I think it's the Shroud, Mother Shroud, that is the 20 seconds of Undetectable. That add-on is so good.
Honestly, though good, it's actually even better to have, like, for Stu and the Toy Sword. You get that increased moon speed for Victor, you get that decreased charge time, and you really can punish the virus by just being able to zip across the map lightning fast. Maybe not as fast as Blight, but pretty damn close.
I mean, yeah, true. I guess it's also just like, I'm trying to think of how to word it. It depends on the map, more or less. Because if you have a map like the Ormond,
Yep.
that's a map I know. If Victor he can struggle on it depending on where he's at in that map. Because some of those like snowbank loops, some of them he can jump over, some of them he can't. It's sort of like a 50-50.
Most loops he should be able to jump over pallets and vaults no problem.
Yeah.
Realistically speaking, the main way to try and avoid Victor is keep him on some tight loops where the hitboxes are a little bit innocuous. So those rounded surfaces, he can definitely struggle with because sometimes their hitbox will kind of just bounce him off to the left or bounce him off to the right, and that's where Victor really does struggle. But that's why you really want that decreased charge time on the pounce itself of the toy sword. That way you can kind of shorten that up and fake back one direction and then pounce then and there.
True. Well, I remember that they fixed a whole bunch of the rock bugs where you could run up on the rocks. There's a whole bunch of new ones now.
Yeah, but the good news is at least both Killer and Survivor can get onto them pretty freely, and there's no way for you to just be up there and not be touchable. There are some bad ones, like I remember on Yamaoka, where a Survivor could get up there, and then if the pallet was broken, that there's no way of getting up there thereafter.
There's currently one on one of the Bad Hand maps. You're able to climb a rock and then climb into a tree, climb up the tree. That was interesting. And then, what's the other map? It's a, there's one back on Yamaoka. It's the Family Estate and then Macmillan. It's one of the Macmillan maps. Those three I know currently have broken rocks.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard any of that. I haven't seen anyone pull that one just yet during my matches. So I'll have to look into that a little bit more. Hopefully behavior does fix that. I do remember in the good old days of Dead by Daylight where sitting in trees was commonplace in many of situations, especially on I think it was the Macmillan maps for the most part where a lot of that happened.
I honestly think that they're interesting loops though, because like once the killer figures out how to use it, it's deadly.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it gives much more value to the killer than it would to survivors, and only to the killers who know about it, where probably the mass majority do not.
Like, we only found out about it because we were just messing around and actually crawled up on a rock.
Yeah, I mean, that's how bugs and potential exploits are found, completely by happenstance after all.
It's always something different, though, after each update. You either have a broken maps like RPD on release, you have the rocks, you have...
To be fair to behavior, RPD wasn't broken as much as RPD was so resource heavy that last-gen consoles couldn't actually support it.
Gas Heaven. That one had a map where you could walk through the wall.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad. That was, I think, the Twins update broke Gas Heaven on that wall. I do remember that.
It was just like the weirdest thing because like all of a sudden I was living Survivor. They'd go into the gas station and then poof, they're gone. While they're actually just hugging a hook in a wall.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Thankfully,
on there.
Yeah, thankfully most of those different bugs have since been fixed, which is good news. But with that being said, we are jumping into our last match of the night with Torment and Legacy. With that being said, and with the point totals, it is pretty clear cut that Torment has won this match, exhibition match or not. But it'll be interesting to see what they decide to bring out on match 4 versus Legacy. Once again, we saw pretty much S tier after S tier after S tier, 2 nurses, a blight, and I don't imagine it will be any different on this 4th match. You know, maybe get a trickster, but I get a feeling that we're gonna get something else. And sure enough,
Spirit.
We got a Spirit.
Yeah.
It makes a ton of sense to me. Honestly, I would have brought Spirit on Suffocation Pit and Nurse here, where it's a lot more open, but hey, at the end of the day, you do you, and let's see what comes of this match. So do you think that Legacy's going to wait out Corrupt this time around, or what do you think their game plan is?
Last time they didn't. I'm assuming that they won again.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say.
They did last time. Yeah, they heavy weighted out last time.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Torment, who did not.
Yeah. Why can I not think? The Iron Will buff, that's what it was. that was just implemented in this last update. So now perks like Strider don't interfere with Iron Will. So
Correct.
I feel like a lot of spirits are going to be trying to figure out how to adapt to their personal playstyle.
Well, realistically speaking, you never want to necessarily rely on Strider in the first place. It's more or less additive to strengthen your strengths against those who had Iron Will. That way, if they had it, you at least could still hear them and try and get those downs. But realistically speaking, you know, with that being said, now since it's multiplicative and not additive on those sound buffs, it's going to be difficult for anyone using, you know, sound modifying add-ons or perks. So, you know, I think that more or less Strider's just going to kind of go to the wayside, and more likely than not will no longer be used, which is good and bad in its own right. I don't think it should have been nerfed to the point where it won't be used anymore, but I think that's where it's at.
I don't understand why we're phasing right here. You can I wouldn't mind if that. Yeah, but right there, they're going to an area where I know the TNL wall won't continue, so I could try and cut them off and then mind game that, get the hit there, and then phase.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, you know, you have to remember that Spirit is a 110 killer out of phase. And so you really do want to ensure that you're able to get the hit. You want to ensure that you get the down. So sometimes phase walking to guarantee that is the right move. And with that being said, I will want to...
a tournament scenario.
Yep. I will also want to mention there, that was a really cheeky play there by Legacy, where they basically had Nia body blocking for Zac, and was able to get the body block. Of course, it didn't last all too long. You can't exactly gain much distance against Spirit, who does phase walk, but in that time, they were able to get another gen, so in that regard, it did work out well for them.
Currently, our ratio is 1-to-1 hooks to gens. It's not horrible until you have that 2-to-1 ratio, I'd say. Especially when you're camping out like this. Unless they're able to get that full camp and get them dead, this can go either direction.
Oh, 100%. This is a risk at the end of the day. You know, every hook state for a survivor is 60 seconds, and if you have 2 people on gen, you're looking at 47 seconds without Prove Thyself or 40 seconds with Prove Thyself. And so that's enough for 1 gen, and then nearly, or actually 3/4 of a gen if you do it solo, as it normally takes 80 seconds for 1 gen solo.
It looks like we're going to camp out to second stage. There goes the click for second.
And we see Spirit already find another survivor on a gen over here.
So they have not gone for any of these hexes.
No, I mean, they might be, you know, thinking that, you know, okay, we saw, how many hex lit totems have we seen? Are we seeing 3 lit totems? Okay, one of them's going to be haunted ground more likely than not. Let's not touch, you know, the totems unless we really need to. And right now, they simply enough don't need to.
Yeah. I mean, that gen that Nia came from, I wasn't able to see too clearly how much progress it had.
It didn't have much progress at all, for that matter. It looks like they had just jumped on it. You know, we're trying to set up more or less for the unhook as necessary. And looks like they are trying to tunnel out of the game here, and we'll see Zac go back down. The real question of the day is, however, whether or not they have Decisive Strike, and the answer is no. However, we do see another gen pop off with only 2 left, so it is possible for Legacy to potentially try and get an escape here, but it's definitely going to be difficult, to say the least. So, realistically speaking, do you feel like that second stage camp paid off?
Overall, so far, yeah. I mean, yes, you did lose 3 gens there, but we're 2 gens during that camp, 3 overall. Now you do have that 1-1-1 set up.
When you say 1-1-1, are you talking about hook states, or...?
The 1 on the gen, 1 going for the rescue, 1 on the hook.
Gotcha, I see what you're saying now.
Uh, looks like they did lose that though with the Why am I blanking on perk names?
Phase
Deliverance.
walk?
Because they did Deliverance off that hook.
Yes. So they did lose a bit of pressure there with that unhook, since they were able to unhook themselves. I mean, that's the power of Deliverance, and probably why we saw Neo go in as aggressively as they did to unhook Zac, to try and secure that Deliverance value. Do I think it was worth it in the long run? Probably not. They probably could have played it a little bit safer, but we do see Spirit once again slugging while Rune's up, which I think is just a very, very smart move. And a nice G hit on Nancy there. And I'm not sure if they're going to phase walk for Nancy at this point or go for the pickup. Yep, looks like we're going for Nancy. They are able to secure the down, though, however, we do see the pickup on Claudette at this point in time. So, you know, gain a little bit of pressure, lose a little bit of pressure. Overall, the nice thing here is the fact that we do see these gens continuing to regress with Ruin up in play.
If I were the Spirit, I would have went for that basement hook.
I mean, I think they made this right choice, though. They didn't want to go for the basement hook because they're afraid of the progress on that generator. And not only were they able to get a person off the gen, but they were also able to get a down on top, which, so I think the right move was taken here.
God, that gen even had progress. And basement hook there. So look, oh man, there's the intel. This is a GG, I feel like.
Yep, I mean, realistically speaking, Claudette probably, though, wanting to get some points here to try and shore up the match. Unfortunately for them, that does give Spirit all the information that they need. And looks like Spirit actually ended up through the pallet that they threw down. Ended up on the wrong side.
Now, which is really weird.
There's a firecracker. No dice, however. Will they get the unhook? And they do not. Really?
Ooh.
I thought they had the timing. Apparently not, though.
That's a GG there.
Yep, that'll be a 4K if...
able to get to a hook, though.
I was about to say, if Spirit's able to get to a hook, the closest one seems to be on the upside of Hill. This might be a little bit dicey.
If I were the Claudette, I'd just be extending the match if this was a non-competitive match. And just keep running to that corner. I know I'm safe there. Just gonna keep running there.
Yep.
Waste time. Of course, it doesn't really help up, and it's not what we did here, though.
I mean, very much like anything when it comes to Spirit and Nurse. A DS, a stun, a flashlight. Does it really give you much distance against them? No, it doesn't. You know, it might be a 5-second stun, you get 5 seconds of distance, but they're able to pick up that same distance in less than a second.
Yeah.
And Spirit doing a celebratory phase walk here.
Yeah.
The real question is, we did see Deliverance, so actually, never mind. You know, they could attempt a Kobe here, but I think maybe Legacy is simply accepting their fate at this point in time.
Yeah, I think they just want to end this here.
Might do some last-minute Kobe's, but no dice. The percentages are not in their favor here, and that there will be the end of our match.
Wow. That was very exhilarating, honestly, the gameplay from both sides.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great job, both from Legacy and from Torment. I am very impressed with Torment's gameplay, I will say. So, very excited to have them on board for COTF and for Legacy. I feel like they still have some work to do in some regards. Honestly, we saw some things where they definitely could work on, whether that be chases, whether that be certain plays. But otherwise, you know, I think I'm very hopeful to see more of Legacy next week.
Yeah. They had a great debut, honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that being said, as we did mention, points or not, Torment does get the win here today. And that will be the end of our match. So good games to Torment and good games to Legacy. And before we do end here, Vile Vega, I do believe you stream, correct?
Yep.
If, in instance, the viewers did want to see you, where would they come find you?
I stream over at Twitch at TTV slash or twitch.tv/VileVega. I am a variety streamer. I stream Dead by Daylight, a whole bunch of different horror games, some occasional Overwatch here and there, and yeah.
And as always, I'm your commissioner and primary host, Guiltspire. You can catch me over on twitch.tv/Guiltspire. That's GILTSPIRE. I'm an educational Dead by Daylight player here to teach codes how to play Killer and survivors how to play against Killer. But on that note, guys, we'll be ending the stream there. On that note, we'll see y'all tomorrow here on COTF for 4 Dwight's 1 Locker versus Dead on Second Hook at 6 p.m. CST. Bye-bye!
See ya.